My much loved SCX30 is about to get a serious makeover with a whole heap of upgrades, but will it actually perform any better, or will it just be a total waste of time and money? In this video we are fitting each upgrade, testing them as we go to see what really works, then heading to a brand new indoor crawler course to push it to the limit and see what it can really do. If you enjoy this sort of content and want to support the channel, hit that subscribe button down at the bottom and give the video a like to show your appreciation. But now, let's get started. Okay, so first things first, what did we get in the box? Well, we got this, which is their aluminium chassis kit. It claims more rigidity and a lower centre of gravity with a 12.5 degrees skid angle to glide over obstacles with ease. Is that going to be the case? Well, we will just have to find out. Next up, I have these, which is their aluminium oil shocks. I have both the 22.5 and the 26mm lengths. Inside here, we get a set of hard and soft springs as well. However, they don't include the oil itself, so you will need to provide that. Next up, we have got a set of overdrive gears. We have then got a set of brass knuckles for the front and a set of steel drive shafts. And then we have their N30 servo, which I am very excited to try. Now, along with that, they also sent a number of sets of wheels and tyres, so we can have a bit of a play around to see which ones we like best. Okay, so before we do any upgrades to the truck, I've got my little test rig out here with the digital angle gauge. We can then perform some incline, decline and side hill tests to give us a bit of a baseline to gauge the performance of these new parts on. Here we go, this is going to be the first test and it is just going to be a straight climb. I have done this already and have got it just about maxed out at 51 degrees, and as you can see it will just about do it with a bit of speed. It does struggle if you go a little slower. And I have moved it up to 52 and it wouldn't do it. So we are somewhere at 51 to 52 degrees. Now with the body on, let's see if it can still do it. Oh, just about. Now, just to get a full picture of it on inclines, let's just see how far it can go before it either loses traction or flips over. Okay, there we go. So just about around 60 degrees. Let's try that again with the body on. I'm guessing it's going to go before 60. There you go. Only around sort of 55 or 56. So quite significantly less. Now testing descents. Well, it is obviously going to have no issues going down with grip. It's more going to be an issue of which point it flips over. So I have got it sitting pretty close to its limit. Let's see if it will go a fraction further. No, there you go. So around about 52.8. Okay, so for our side hilling, we are going to take two numbers. We're going to do a static one and a moving one, both with the body on and with the body off. So starting with the body on and a static test, let's see where we end up. We're not far away from it at 37 degrees. At which point is it going to let go? We are at 38 now and it is just going. There you go, so 38.5 degrees static with the body on. Okay, so body off, can we get over 38 degrees? Can we get to 45? I don't think so. There we go, 43.5-ish. Okay, so for our moving test, I'm set at around about 35 degrees. Just been playing around with it a little bit. There we go, let's try and just get over 35 degrees. It is right on the borderline here. As you can see, it is just lifting a wheel there. So I'm pretty happy with that reading. 35.2 degrees for a moving test with the body on. The body off, it should just about do it at this. It was a lot more comfortable at 42. But yeah, we are again just lifting a wheel on that high side. So that gives us a pretty good indication there. So there you go, that is the tests out the way with. Let's now get on to some modifications. So first things first with the build, let's get that chassis swapped over to the new aluminium one and see how it affects the performance. Back at the hill, and we have got our angle gauge set at that 51 degrees. If we just, there we go. So let's see if it can make it up the hill now. It's obviously got a little extra weight with that aluminium chassis and also the motor mount, which I forgot to mention. So yeah, let's see if it can make it up the hill. Okay, no, we are losing grip. Okay, let's give it a little bit of a run up, see if it can make it. No, I'm going to try a different spot on the track. See if there's any grip anywhere. No, we are. Now I'm going to give it a little helping hand, just see if it loses grip still. No, we're still losing grip, so I'm going to lower it down and try and find the point at which it can go up. Okay, so I've been having a play around. I think we are just about there. We're set at 46.8 degrees and it can just about make it up. Okay, it's just on, right on the edge. There we go, a bit of wheel speed and we can get up there. So indeed we have lost, well, quite a bit of climbing ability. Let's do the side hill test and see how that fares. Got the angle set again at what we had it at for the stock car. Now with this aluminium chassis, has it changed it a huge amount? No, it is just about staying there. Trying not to... It is right on it. If I just touch it, I think it will go. Yeah. So I am pretty happy that the side hill performance hasn't really been affected by that chassis. Okay, so switching over to that aluminium chassis with the rest of the truck stock hasn't done us any favours at the moment. However, what it does allow for is a large range in shock mounting positions. And not only that, the ability to change the oil inside these shocks will allow us to tune the damping as well. Okay, so I've got the new shocks on. They feel pretty good. I've set them up so they are fairly sort of raked forwards and backwards on the front, just to try and lower the truck down as much as possible, which will help when it comes to the side hill. And let's now pop it on the hill, see if we have regained any of that climbing angle that we lost when we added that chassis. So I have the angle gauge set. We are at 50, we should be at about 56.5. I think it was 56.8 before, but we won't worry too much about the tiny little details. Let's see if it will climb this now. Okay, that is looking good. I don't think we're going to be able to go much higher, but it certainly has climbed 67 degrees. Let's see if we can get up this now. Yes, looking good. Okay, on to 48.5. So we are climbing our way back up again. These shocks really have made a difference, it seems. Oh, we're struggling a little bit. I think we might just about be on the edge. The little bit of wheel speed we can get up, but we are pretty much on the edge. I will go up to 49 and just see if we can do that. But I think 48.5 is going to be our limit. Okay, so on to 49 degrees. Let's see if we can do that. Oh, just about. We are proper on the limit now. I will try and go just a tiny bit more. We are up to about 51 degrees, which is where we started with the stock truck. Let's see if we can now carry on going. It seems to be getting almost easier, which does not make sense at all. We are climbing up there quite happily. Well, I say happily. We are definitely nearing the limit, but it still seems to be wanting to climb. Let's carry on going. Okay, I have increased it 1 more degree. Can we do it? Is it going to do it? Oh my word. We're just starting to lose grip. The truck can handle the angle. We are just simply losing grip. There you go, 52 degrees. It has made it up 52 degrees. Let's keep on going. Okay, so we have gone up to 53 degrees now. Surely it can't still do this. I will be very impressed if it can. Those shocks. Oh my word, it is trying its hardest. We might have reached its limit. No. Oh, it's just about holding in there. There we go. I think we have reached its limit. I'm going to call it at 52.5 degrees. You could be very generous and call it 53, but somewhere between 52 and 53 we are finally reaching its limit. Okay, so those shocks really did seem to make a huge difference. We went all the way from 46.8 degrees to nearly 53, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, the difference could have come from a number of different things. It could be the shocks themselves, or it could be the way that we've got them mounted up. Now, obviously, unfortunately, we did go a little bit backwards when we added that aluminium chassis and that motor mount. However, let's stick with it for the moment, and then we can make a decision once we get to the end of the build. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to add is this, which is the overdrive set. It will be going into the front axle. And for those of you who don't know, it is basically going to drive this front pair of wheels slightly faster than the rear, which should help its climbing ability. I have now got the overdrive gears installed in the front. If I do one full rotation, you should see that front wheel travel further and faster than the rear. And there you go, a second rotation, you can start to see it adding up. So let's go now try that on the hill and see if it's made any difference. Okay, so back at the hill on that same angle, will these overdrive gears make it any easier to get up? Let's find out. No, we are struggling a little bit. You can see those front wheels turning faster than the rear, but is it helping in this situation? Perhaps not. Those overdrive gears don't seem to be helping us. It's not saying that they won't, but in this particular scenario on this carpet climb, they are not really helping. What it will help is when you're sort of climbing over rocks and really trying to pull that front end a little faster to get over obstacles. But as I say, in this scenario on this straight flat hill, it is not helping. So there you go, those front overdrive gears not really giving us any major advantages on that carpet climb. However, out on the rocks, it could be a different story, so we will wait to see when we test it there. With the car now really struggling for grip, let's pop a new set of wheels and tyres on. So Injora have been very kind and they've sent me a whole heap of options. We've got aluminium, we've got brass, we've got large, and we've got small. And the option that I'm going to go with today are these, which sit somewhere in the middle. They are the Injora Swamp Claws, and I'm going to be running the negative 1.5mm offset wheels. Okay, so there you go, those wheels and tyres now fitted up. Now what I have also done is add the brass rings inside here to give a little more weight up front. So let's now take it to the hill and see what we can do. Okay, so we're back at the hill and we are just about set to 53 degrees. There we go. Let's see if those tyres make any difference. And yes, look at that. We are climbing up there without any issues at all. I have now set it at 58 degrees. Will we be able to climb this? I'm not so sure. Let's see what those tyres have done. The front end is going light, but we are still climbing. Let's keep on going. Can we get to 60 degrees? We're back at 60 degrees. This is where a lot of crawlers normally seem to max out. Can the little SCX30 make it up this climb? That front end starting to go light. Those tyres barely touching the carpet. Oh, there we go. It has flipped out. Can we do it? I think it is right on the edge of its limits at the moment. I'm pretty sure I can get it up this climb if I'm ever so careful. There you go, nice, smooth, consistent power. And we make it up that climb, but only just. So now these wheels and tyres are a lot wider and we've got a lot more weight load down. Let's repeat our side hill test and see where we're at. Previously, we were at 43.5 degrees. Let's see if we've had any improvements. Okay, we're going to carry on going up. We have gone way past the 43.5, 45 degrees, still going, looking very planted. Starting to lose a little bit of grip. Here we go. 40. There you go. 47.8 degrees. Okay, so I've been playing around with this moving side hill challenge and we are at 45.5 degrees and we are right on the limit. That front wheel, you can see barely touching the carpet. And it does occasionally let go. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. That is quite a significant difference from the static one. So that is very interesting and something to note if you are playing with these sort of tests yourself. Okay, so we now have plenty of grip to play with. However, that front end is getting rather light on the ground. So let's try adding the brass front knuckles. Back with those brass knuckles fitted up. Is that extra weight up front going to make this climb any easier? Front end lifting already. But there you go, it is making it up that climb. I wouldn't say hugely different, but it is certainly easier than it was before. There we go, let's do it again a little bit faster. Yes, there is definitely a difference there. We have gained a little extra grip up front. Let's go up a little steeper. Okay, I've gone one more degree. I think this is really going to be pushing it. Can it do the climb? Oh, just about. We are still going. Okay, so I've gone up half a degree more. Is this going to be its limit? Front end starting to lift. I don't think it's going to make this one. No, there you go. So I think our limit was 61 degrees. That is an improvement, not a huge one, but an improvement nonetheless. Now, seeing as the truck has gone through quite a few changes, I thought I would pop it onto the four corners scales to see where we were at. And as you can see, we are at 39% on the rear and 61% on the front, which is just about perfect. Now, with the weight balance of the car being just about perfect at the moment, I'm a little nervous to add too much more weight up front. However, that stock servo isn't the most reliable and it doesn't have a huge amount of power. What more, I have this Injora N30 servo just staring at me, so I am keen to try it out. So let's get that stock servo off, compare the weights, and then test out this new Injora N30 and see what it's like. So I've got the scales out, let's see what the stock servo weighed. And that comes in at about 4.5 grams. If I then tear that off, we can then see the additional weight that we are going to be adding with the Injora servo. And it's coming in at an extra 3.44 grams. So while it's not a huge amount, it is still going to increase that front end bias. To what extent? Well, we shall pop it on the four corner scales to find out. So we got the servo fitted, it went in without a hitch and it was very easy to install. Let's now take a look and see what it's like. Well, it looks like it has at least, or if not a little more angle than we had before. It's certainly very quiet power-wise. Well, it's certainly got enough power on the bench. We will have to wait and see what it's like when we get it out on the rocks. So popping the truck back onto the four corner scales to see what that extra weight up front in the servo has done to our bias. And you can see that it has actually only increased it by 1%. So we are still very close to our goal of a 40-60 weight bias. So now let's take it from the scales back to the hill and see what it's like. Okay, so I've got the hill set at that same 61.5 degrees that we had on the previous test where it couldn't quite make it up. Let's see if that extra 3 grams up front has made any difference. I'm going to have to be ever so careful not to let that front end come up. We need to be really smooth. Okay, here we go. We are now just about making the climb. That front end barely touching the carpet. I feel like it's going to go any second. I am trying to be ever so smooth on the throttle. This brushed motor though, not the smoothest. We are just about making it up. I think it's going to go if I'm not careful. And look at that, we are climbing up 61.5 degrees. Give that one more shot, see what happens, see how close we are to the limit. I feel it is more luck than anything at the moment. And there you go. We are right on the limit at 61.5. As I said, trying to get up there really was being limited by how smooth I could drive the car. Any small little jerk that I put into that throttle really did want to send that front end over. So potentially in the future, we might look at swapping out that motor for a brushless setup, which will hopefully smoothen things out. So I'm pretty happy with the performance of the truck at the moment. However, there are still a few questions I've got about some of those parts that we added earlier on and as to whether they were really worth it or not. So why not let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments? I would be very keen to hear. Now I do have an event coming up tomorrow and it would be the perfect place to test this out. However, we are missing one thing, the body. So what are our options? I do have a couple of these cheap Lexan bug bodies. They're not the Injora ones, they're just some that I found on AliExpress a while back. I thought I would try one out. However, the scale isn't quite there and it just doesn't look quite right. So that one, I'm afraid, is going to be out. Next, I thought I would try printing one. However, about 8 hours into the 10-hour print, unfortunately, we had a failure. So again, that one is out also. Now you may laugh at this one. I did also consider running a MiniZ body. However, I think it probably would take a lot of cutting to get any sort of performance out of it. So what options do we have left? Well, luckily the other day I did pick up a white K10 body. Now I would prefer a Lexan body on a performance-based rig. However, given the situation that we're in, I think we're just going to have to make the best out of this. So let's see what I can do. Okay, so the body's come together quite nicely. It's actually working out quite well. I found this piece of parts tree that I've glued into the back, just so it happened to fit pretty much perfectly. I've then made a 3D printed part here that then mounts into. Up front, I've got the clip that came with the Bronco stuck in there. And as I say, that all seems to be working out quite nicely. Yeah, really happy with the way that's fitting. A little bit more work to do to get the wheels to clear, but then we should be pretty good. I think we're nearly there now. I've been working at these arches for quite a while, using the edge of the blowtorch here just to melt and push the plastic up a little further so that we can get full clearance even on full lock now. We haven't got any binding or rubbing, so that's really good. Same on the rear, and it's kind of made it look not terrible. I don't like it when it's all like majorly hacked away, so I think a bit of paint and filler, as I say, will just tidy that up and make it look good. Now it's getting pretty late, it's gone well past midnight, and we need to be up early to head down to Voltage Models in Chichester to check out their new crawler course. Well, we are back from our first proper test of the truck and our little outing down to Crawler World in Sussex for the grand opening of their brand new course. First off, a massive well done to the team there. They've clearly put in a huge amount of time and effort in building the new course, and it was absolutely fantastic. But of course, you guys probably want to know more about the truck, so how did it do out on the rocks? Well, I have to say I was very happy with the way that the truck drove. However, there are still definitely a few things that I want to change. So let's start with the chassis. Now, obviously at the start of this video, we added the aluminium chassis and the aluminium skid plate, and unfortunately it sent our performance in the wrong direction. So I am keen to go back to the stock version to see if that helps. If that lighter version does help, then potentially we can look at some other options. Next thing that I want to look at is the electronics. Unfortunately, now on full lock, we are running into some issues with the tires touching the ESC and the receiver. So switching to individual components will mean that we can position those in such a way that we can have a little more clearance between the two. Moving to a brushless system will mean we will get improved speed, power and control. Now moving on to the body, I have to say I really am starting to like the look of this truck. However, out on the course we did, as expected, run into a few issues. That overhang on the front and especially on the rear did end up getting hung up quite a lot, and in a competition situation we can't be having that. So what are we going to do to sort those issues? Well, we could obviously go down the modification route, start chopping away at the body and perhaps even pinching it in or shortening the back. However, that's going to be a lot of work and I'm not sure it's going to get the result that we want. Now the other option is to go back down the Lexan route, where we could even potentially create our own, but why don't you let me know what your thoughts are on the body and drop them down in the comments. Now, while you've been watching this, another parcel has just arrived with even more parts for the build, but you're going to have to wait for the next video to see the results on those and for the other tests that we talked about earlier, and then to where this truck finally ends up. A big thank you to Injora for supporting this channel, and there is a link down in the description to where you can get 5% off your next order. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss part 2, along with all the other builds and reviews that I've got lined up. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and if you're at the track or out on the trails, be sure to have fun and drive with a smile. I will see you in the next one.